All right, let's start off with the QB position and quarterback Jay Cutler. So I thought he was coming off his worst game last week against the Titans. I thought that by far was his worst. It's not even close. I thought he made rookie mistakes in that game, mistakes he doesn't normally make. He made bad decisions with the football, and he really hurt the football team with turnovers. I didn't think he managed the play clock well at all. It was very, very bad. He really allowed the pass rush to get off to a jump start in that game against a very physical Titans defense that really hurt our offense in that game. So going into this game, obviously had a tough task going against one of the better coached teams in the NFL and a Dan Quinn defense, a very fast, physical football team that has a lot of playmakers on it. When you talk about Vic Beasley, Desmond Trufant, Deion Jones, Keanu Neal, Brian Poole, who's a very underrated player, Ricardo Allen, who's a very underrated player as well, Robert Alford, who makes a lot of big plays throughout the season, Desmond, I don't think if I said Desmond Trufant, but he's another underrated, really, really good football player. So this was a very tough, well-built defense when you talk about the front to the back end. I mean, you talk about Deion Jones, Campbell, Grady Jarrett, Tack McKinley that they just got out of UCLA, and like I said, I just named all those back-end players before. I mean, this defense is legit. So he had a very, very tough task going against a very physical, fast defense, and a very well-coached defense. And their defense is very, very similar to Seattle's. I thought he did a very, very good job. I thought there was a lot of plays in this game that are going to be overlooked, and I think there are plays, I guess the best way to put it, that was misunderstood. In that the pass rush was getting after him all game, and I thought Jay Cutler, because of that, really handled the pressure well as a quarterback. I mean, when you have people in your face constantly, you got to make quick, fast decisions with the football. You cannot hang on to the football. And when they're blitzing you, when they're zone blitzing, when they're man blitzing you, you have to be a smart quarterback. You have to know where your open guys are. You have to make quick decisions with the football and not turn the ball over. And I thought he did a great job of that. I mean, the offensive line, the pass protection was not very good in the first half, nor was it good in the second half. He made plays with his legs, obviously, in the second half, that touchdown to Kenny Stills. I thought he did a very, very good job of not throwing this game away, especially down 17-0, and that's something that Jay Cutler has always needed to work on. When the game seems out of reach, that's where he really turns the ball over, and he makes it worse. I don't think he's ever came back from a 17-point deficit in his career. So, that's something that he did well in this game. We stuck to the game plan, which is a hats off to Adam Gase for that. He really didn't, go empty and pass it for 50 times like some coaches would do down 17 to a Falcons high-powered offense. He really trusted the defense. He stuck to the game plan. So hats off to Adam Gase for that. But Jay Cutler, like I said, he made plays that are going to be overlooked. People criticize him in that game especially. You heard the commentators when he was backpedaling. He needs to show more poise in the pocket. If he showed any kind of poise in the pocket and stood in there and took a hit, he wouldn't have been able to get that ball off. That's how bad the pass protection was. There were people coming in free on him. So again, I thought he handled the rush well. I thought he didn't throw the ball, the game away. He made one bonehead decision before half. He threw it behind his receiver, tried to make too much happen. Probably could have scrambled for a first down or close to one. I thought Jay Cutler was a very big reason. Obviously, Jay Ajayi and what he was able to do in that game was a huge reason what the run blocking was in that game. But I thought Jay Cutler, don't overlook the fact, and I'm not saying here, I'm not saying this just because, I'm being overly optimistic or any of this stuff, but Jay Cutler's performance, that was a very underrated performance. I mean, you look at the stats, they're not eye-popping or anything like that, but what he was able to do against a very athletic and young defense, and people right in his face, not making mental errors, not turning the ball over, and making plays when he wasn't getting great pass protection all game, is a very underrated performance, and he was a huge reason why we won that game. Obviously, like I said, the touchdown pass to Kenny Stills, he made the play with his legs there. The Jarvis Landry touchdown pass was basically a given. That was a great play. That's the same play we ran against the Jets. If you guys remember the Jarvis Landry truck stick play where he just ran over Michael Gilchrist against the Jets last year. That was the exact same play, and I think Adam said the ball wasn't even supposed to go to him, but nobody covered him because that play we only run that play. When I watch a lot of football and nobody fakes either you're faking a jet sweep or the receiver comes in motion. Nobody fakes him back and then he runs out the other way. So that was just obviously a given touchdown. But I thought his performance is going to be overlooked because it's the little things in football sometimes, and I thought he did a great job of just managing the game really well and making plays. He was a playmaker on Sunday, and that's what we really needed from Jay Cutler, especially in this game when you're going up against a very good football team on the road. You need your quarterback to play well, and he did a tremendous job of handling the pass rush, not making stupid decisions with the football. His ball placement was immaculate on key downs when you talk about the fourth downs. There were 5 drops in that first half. There were drops on fourth down that should have been caught. I think did we go for it on fourth down 3? I can't remember. Maybe it was a third down, but there was one that was dropped by Juice Landry that should have been caught. It was a perfect throw. I mean, it was low and away. It hit him right in the chest, but he made plays when we needed him to. I think this was a very underrated performance from Jay Cutler. All right, let's talk about the offense's performance as a whole on Sunday. When you look at the score at half, it's 17-0. And the thing that I said previewing this game is if we didn't get any points, if we didn't start fast, at least, either the first quarter or second quarter in that first half, then we were going to lose the football game. And we didn't start fast per se in terms of getting points on the board, but we were able to move the football. I thought the offensive line did a tremendous job in the trenches. We didn't dominate the trenches, but we were very physical. We were moving people off the ball. I thought the blocks on the second level of the defense were it's night and day from any other game this year. I thought we did a tremendous job of executing some of those blocks on the linebackers, which is not an easy thing to do when you're talking about Keanu Neal, who plays in the box a lot, and then you got Deion Jones running around, who's an athletic freak. So that is not easy to do, getting blocks on the second level on a super fast offense. And I thought we were able to do that as an offense. Is really just be better at getting blocks on the second level for obviously JHI. So again, in that first half, we got off to a super slow start. We were moving the football. We were really feeding off the running game. The running game was very successful in that first half. I think Jay had 75 yards or something like that in the first half. So we were moving the ball. We just could not finish drives. Whether that be stupid turnovers, you got that peel block on Juwan James, who, he was blocking somebody off the pile. Obviously, that's a big no-no, especially since he did it so late. That was another mental mistake by this offense. We just cannot commit and get down in distance against a very, very good Atlanta Falcons defensive line, and let them get after the QB. And we did some of those things in the first half that really hurt us. We really shot ourselves in the foot. But we were able to move the football. We were able to really help our defense in terms of field position and special teams and stuff of that nature. So we did some good things in that first half. But again, it was the second half where the offense really came together. You talk about, both sides on offense really doing their job well. When we talk about the receivers in the passing game, you talk about the run blocking and what the running backs were able to do in that game. The offense was really able to feed off of that. I thought Damian Williams did another tremendous job, as our designated third down running back. I mean, he made some big plays in that game, catching the ball, turning upfield, and getting the first down. He made some very, very, very big plays in that game. And it's nice to see that we finally, found a third down back. But, we were really able to, feed off the running game. I thought we really built off of some of the things that we did well against the Titans. We used Anthony Fasano a whole lot more in this game. He was very involved in the game plan. He had a couple awesome, smart plays on Brooks Reed. Get some good blocks there to really spring JJ and a couple plays there. Really made him lose contain. The game, in terms of, the Chargers game was a very good game for Jay. Obviously, he went over 100 yards, but this game was better because I thought the execution was better. Jay really had lanes to run through. Obviously, there were some plays where Jay, just made 50 people miss a tackle, but there were plays where the play was just really well executed. I thought at halftime when Mike Pouncey went to the locker room, I was like, oh, God, here we go again. There's the engine to the offense. He's gone. Jake Brendel stepped up big time in this game. When you talk about, he was one of the bigger reasons why we executed blocks on the second level. I mean, he was very athletic in that game. He was getting blocks on the second level. There was one big play in the second half towards the end of the game where he was in the second level of their defense getting blocks for Jay, really sprung him loose. And like I said, we haven't really been able to execute that all year long, but he did a tremendous job of doing that. So the running game was just so much better in this game than it has been in weeks past. Like I said, it wasn't just Jay making plays. There were plays that were just really well blocked, which is a great sign. I hope this is really what we build off of. We really had something in that Titans game, even though it was just a little sliver of it, but it was better play at the end of that game. We really finished it for our defense to really go out there and just win the game. And in this game, we built off of that, especially in that first half, and obviously throughout the rest of the game. The running game is just much better than it has been. And hopefully we found our lineup that we really like using Anthony Fasano, using more 2 tight end sets, which is what we did last year with Julius Thomas and Anthony Fasano. You can still keep the threat of a passing game in there with Julius Thomas still in there, even though he's not the greatest run blocker, but you can make up for that with Anthony Fasano running to his side. So I like those things. I thought we did a tremendous job of run blocking this game, much better than we have all year. About the passing game. I thought the passing game was very, the pass protection was very bad. And I'm not saying, we didn't want it. I'm not saying it had to be perfect or anything like that, but it was not very good at all. And I didn't expect anything less, to be honest with you. When you talk about this defensive line I think it had a lot more to do with the Falcons than it did us. They confuse offensive lines a lot. There was a lot of busted protections in this game. But that's just because they're a very good football team. Sometimes you just got to take your hat off to them because they're very good at their job, and they are as a defense. So I think that had more to do with the Falcons than it did us, as with our personnel. I think we have one of the better tackle duos in the league, in Tunsil and Juwan James. So it had more to do with the Falcons than it did us. But I thought the receivers really, even though Devontae Parker was out, they did a very, very good job in this particular game. Obviously, getting open on key downs. Jarvis Landry had one heck of a game. When you talk about just plays being made from the receiver position, I think this was probably. I guess you could make an argument that the Chargers game with Devontae Parker and coming up with a couple of big catches, but I thought this was probably the best they played as a unit because we saw some Kenny Stills plays, we saw some Juice Landry plays. So I think this is, as a unit, this is definitely the best they played, which is a great news. And obviously the quarterback position, which we started the video off with, I mean, I think that was a very, very underrated performance. Like I said, you have to have a very good quarterback. You have to have a very good quarterback to win on the road in general, but you have to have a very good quarterback to win on the road in hostile territory against a Super Bowl NFC champion, defending NFC champion football team. You have to have a good quarterback if you're not going to win that game. And Jay Cutler really gave us a franchise quarterback caliber performance on Sunday. And it was really nice to see the quarterback and the receivers make plays in this game. Finally, we really haven't seen that since week 1. So it was really nice to see that. I thought we really got to see some of the talented guys on this team. When you talk about personnel, and when you talk about play calling in this game, I thought it was very, very good. I thought, Adam called a very good game. He was aggressive. He stretched the defense. It wasn't. I don't even think the man called a screen, to be honest with you. I can't really remember one, to be honest. He really did what works for this team. And it worked. I mean, it was more, like I said, he was more aggressive in the passing game. He always is, I think that had a lot to do with the running game. We were really able to utilize some of the play action game there. I thought Adam had a great game plan. He got Damian Williams involved, which is, I think, one of our better playmakers on this offense. You see what Chris Thompson is able to do for the Redskins as a receiving back, and receiving back in today's league is a very important cog to any kind of offense. So, I thought he did a great job of getting Damian Williams more involved. Some of the play, like that touchdown to Jarvis Landry, that's a beautifully drawn out play. It's a beautiful concept and just beautifully executed by the football team. But he was able to involve players that needed to be involved, get them the ball early on, and really utilize their talents. And I thought he built off what he did against the Tennessee Titans. So I thought he called a very good game. I thought he utilized personnel a little bit better in this game. When you talk about, he got Damian Williams involved. Even though, we didn't really see Kenyon Drake. Leonte Crew got the start, but you rarely saw him. You saw some Jakeem Grant, but very little. So we still have yet to see some of that, but I thought he understood what we needed on third down in terms of a running back, and we really utilized Damian Williams in this game. So overall, the offense, this in my opinion, was their best performance. I thought they moved the ball on a consistent basis. They really just made plays on key downs against a very good Falcons defense, and you saw some of the talent in that game. So I love the offensive performance. It was a gritty, physical performance when you talk about blocking, and I thought the passing game was way better than it's been all year. All right, I want to talk about two individuals that most definitely deserve the game ball when you talk about Cordrea Tankersley and what he was able to do on Sunday, and Rashad Jones. Both had tremendous performances, obviously sealed the win for us on Sunday, and both of them deserve credit for that interception. I mean, Matt Ryan, that was not, obviously he was throwing it into a very tight window, but he hit him right in his chest. Austin Hooper, it hit him right in his chest. It was a great accurate throw by Matt Ryan. Ball placement was beautiful, but Cordrea made a tremendous play on the ball, getting it out of his hands, and then Rashad Jones obviously came over and cleaned it up with that interception. That's just good play on the back end. When you talk about chemistry, when you talk about just great play, great players making, great players make great plays, and both of those guys have been balling out all year for us. And both of those guys, I mean, when we talk about team MVP, they're pretty high on that list for this season. I mean, Cordrea Tankersley has been just very, very good for us through the first few games of the season, and not an easy task when you're going up against an MVP quarterback and Matt Ryan, Tyler Gabriel and Julio Jones, and he rarely checked Julio, and I thought X did a great job on Julio. I mean, Julio's going to make his plays. I don't care who's guarding him. But I thought they both did a very good job against a very, very good secondary. And communication was amazing. When you talk about what the Falcons throw at you from a defensive perspective, and, things that you have to do, I thought Rashad and Cordrea did a tremendous job in this game. And just, trusting their eyes and really just making plays on the football and playing fast. So both of those guys had tremendous performances, and it was, not only did they steal the game, but before that they were having great games. So it was, I guess it was, it was well deserved that they got the game-winning play, because both of those guys had a tremendous performance on Sunday, and they obviously capped it off with their play there. So I don't know how you couldn't be impressed with Cordrea. We talk about a rookie corner who was thought to be a prospect and would redshirt a year, and obviously he didn't even start. He wasn't even active on the roster through the first 2 games of the season. So he's played amazing. He had a tremendous preseason. I don't know why he wasn't active because of the preseason the man had, but again, he's high up there on team MVP, and he's a rookie. Playing in the secondary, for God's sakes. We talk about how hard it is to play in the secondary in general, but not only that, but for a rookie, it's even harder. So he's had a tremendous year. Same thing with Rashad, but I expect that from him. Obviously, the man's already won a team MVP in 2015, so I expect nothing less from one of the better players in the league and one of the best back-end players in the NFL. All right, let's talk about the defense as a unit. I thought this was their best performance, and that's saying something. When you talk about some of the offenses that they have won against, even though some of these haven't resulted in wins, they were still great performances by the defensive side of the football. When you talk about the Saints, only allowing 20 points to the Saints that just scored 52 on the Lions. Granted, some of those were turnovers, but that offense is legit. It's very hard. It's always been a very hard offense to stop with Sean Payton and Drew Brees. And then when you talk about what they did against the Chargers, who, since our game, I think have scored at least more than 19 points on everybody. So our defense is legitimately a top 3 defense in this league. I don't think you could pick, 10 better defenses, or 7 better defenses for that matter. I think these guys are one of the best defenses I've seen in a very long time in Miami. I mean, this defense is very, very good. I mean, their resume alone and what they've done we talk about the Falcons only scoring 17 points, only allowing 17. I don't know if that's the lowest total they've scored this year. I know they didn't score a ton against the Bears, but I still think they scored more than 17. So this defense is very, very fun to watch for a lot of different reasons, not just because of the talent, but because of how Matt Burke calls games. It's just fun to watch. Talk about this defensive line. It is, one of the things for a while, as a Dolphins fan, I think as a fan, what you've been waiting to see is the defensive line. Since we signed Sue, we signed some big free agents to help, that we thought were going to, perform. Obviously, when we signed him here, we had, Sue, OV, and Wake. That should have been enough to have a dominant defensive line. We didn't see it. And then for years on end until this year, we really haven't seen it. And this is the year that we finally saw a dominant defensive line, and you have to give credit to Chris Greer and what he was able to do in the offseason. He went out and got Will Hayes. He drafted Charles Harris. He re-signed Andre Branch, who has been a very good edge rusher for us. And, I think he's really improved in the running game this year. And William Hayes, some of the plays he made on Sunday, you just got up out of your chair and cheered. I mean, my God, some of the plays he made on Sunday. So this defensive line was revamped. It was built right, finally. We recognized what the flaws were in this defensive line, and we fixed them. We knew we needed an edge defender, so we went out and got one of the best ones, if not the best in the NFL. In a trade, it wasn't we signed him in free agency. It was a trade, which is a more ups to Mike Tannenbaum and Chris Greer, for God's sakes, and just stole him from L.A. Defense, and I'll say it again, is one of the best in the NFL. The linebackers, don't even get me started on the linebackers. I thought that was going to be a disaster when Raekwon McMillan tore his ACL. I did not have high hopes for this linebacker core. Before I saw the Philly game and when I saw what Lawrence Timmons was capable of, I didn't know if we were going to get the Lawrence Timmons in Pittsburgh. I don't think Lawrence has had this good of a season, at least a start to one, in years. This is the best I've seen Lawrence look in a very long time. When you talk about what Raymel Luga has brought to this football team and how well he's played, I didn't expect that from Raymel Luga at all. He's been tremendous in pass coverage. I mean, he got the start on Sunday against, I think this was his first start, or his second start. Tennessee was his last, but or his first. And he did a tremendous job. And then Kiko, I said it before this game, and I'll say it again. He is having a Pro Bowl season. He is having an all-pro team. First, second, pick one. I don't know, but pick one, because he's one of the best weak side linebackers in the NFL. Any kind of outside linebacker, pick one. I don't care. I will take Kiko, because Kiko is playing. This is the best I think we've seen Kiko. I think it's even better than his rookie season, where he won Rookie of the Year. Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think this is his best season that he's ever had in his career so far. I mean, he's just having a ball of a year. You have to give, I'm going to say this a lot in this segment of this video, you have to give your hats off to what Chris Greer and Mike Tannenbaum have done. They revamped, last year was statistically the worst defense in Dolphins franchise history. This is one of the best that I've ever seen, at least to a start to a year. When you talk about some of the offenses, they went against one of the best offenses in NFL history in terms of talent. When you talk about Coleman, Devontae Freeman, they didn't have Sanu. So, you say what you will, Julio Jones, Matt Ryan, Alex Mack on the offensive line, Schrader, they've got a very good team. So, what they were able to do, not many teams in the NFL are capable of as a defense, and holding them to 17 points is just amazing. And like I said, we all thought the linebackers were not going to be good this year. And what they've been able to do in a very crisis in a short span of time, and getting Raymel Luga, who has again utterly surprised me, and he's helped in the middle linebacker position in ways that I never thought he was able to do. In the offseason, they went out and got Lawrence Timmons. They re-signed Kiko Alonso. So they have done a tremendous job of revamping this defense in one offseason. I haven't mentioned the rookies that they drafted with Vincent Taylor, Devon Gottschalk, Cordrea Tinkersley, and Charles Harris. All four of those guys have contributed game-changing plays this year. When you talk about Vincent Taylor, he had a bat on Sunday on a key down this Sunday, and he's had many different plays. He's had some pressures this year as well. Devon Gottschalk has played very, very good in the run game, and then Cordrea, obviously, I don't even have to bring up the play that he made in Sunday, and then Charles Harris in the Tennessee Titans game, closing out the game with a sack. So all four of those guys have been contributing to this football team this year. Nobody could have predicted that. Nobody, and that you have to. They did. I can't even speak right now because it just, some of the moves that they made I didn't believe in, and hats off to them, man. They really revamped this defense. Matt Burke, for all the criticism I gave him early on in this year, his defense, he has figured out what works, and I think a lot of that had to do with getting Lawrence back, and a lot of the defense is built around him and concept in terms of him letting him blitz and dropping other people back in coverage. And Matt Burke is calling, he needs to be, he's in contention for your defensive assistant of the year, defensive coordinator of the year, because he's just having a tremendous season as a play caller. Nobody else, you see a lot of the same things in the NFL. If you have a very talented defense, you see a lot of 4-man rushes and dropping everybody else back, 3-man rushes and dropping everybody else back. You rarely see in the NFL a coordinator or a coach run something unique that hasn't already been copied, and that's what Matt Burke is doing right now. Something original, he's running something fun. You already see teams copying him, for God's sakes. I mean, I can't remember what game I was watching, but there were plays, zone blitzing schemes that were straight up off our defense. So you rarely see that. I mean, obviously Vance Joseph did some of those things, dropping defensive players back. I think Matt Burke is doing it better than Vance did because, you know, he's dropping the right players back. Obviously his personnel is better than it was a year ago, but, you know, you see Andre Branch getting involved, you see Charles Harris. He's just he's having a great year calling the game. So this defense is legit. It's the most consistent I've ever seen this defense in many years. It is a balling. Sue is having a very underrated year. This D-line is the most dominant it's been in maybe a decade. This, you know, the secondary is also as dominant, in which we did not expect, and we did not expect the linebackers to be this good either. So this defense is legit. You got to give your hats off to Chris Greer and Mike Tannenbaum for drafting and revamping and fixing this defense in such a I don't even know if they knew that it was going to be this fast, you know? So, good, just hats off to those guys. I thought the offense, you know, we talked about they need to get their confidence back. They've got their confidence back, which is something that they needed so desperately. You know, this is the first, you know, you saw Jay Cutler fist pumping the air. You saw Jarvis Landry throwing the ball in the stands. You saw Jay Ajayi, you know, hyped up on the sidelines. You saw Kenny Stills emotional as well. So it was nice to see the offense get their passion and confidence back, and hopefully that stays for the rest of the season. And I think Adam Gase's got his rhythm back as well as a play caller. And I think Jay Cutler has finally acclimated to this team and to his teammates in terms of throwing the football. So that is going to be it, guys. This is the best win so far this season, and it was really fun to watch. And again, what a job by the front office.